right, welcome, guys. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go from bland to industry leading brand. If you are tuned in live, go ahead and put your flames in the comments. And as usual, we have a phenomenal show for you today. I have with me, as usual, the king of branding himself, Mr. Sean Raiz. And we're going to get into some interesting conversation today. What's up, Sean?
Listen. I am extremely happy to be here. We have a couple of announcements. We have a phenomenal guest for you today. Listen, guys, yesterday's situation is not today's situation. I want you to think about what's new for you. What's new for you? I remember when 2022 came in, we did brand new 2022. So I want you to think about 2023. 2023, what's new for me? And when I say me, I'm speaking about you. What's new for you? So we're in like the middle of almost towards the end of the second quarter. The second quarter of 2023. What does that mean for you? Where were you at when this began? Where were you at in the beginning of 2023 to now? We almost at the halfway point. We almost at the half yard line. This is it, guys. How are you showing up in your personal life, in your relationships, in your business, and in your finances? Where are you showing up? So today is a clarifier for me, Junior. Today is a clarifier. It's the great clarifier. I always say CSA. You have to clarify before you can simplify, and you have to simplify before you can amplify. I'm excited.
100%, Sean. Actually, yesterday I was just thinking that it's basically the year is done. The way I see it,
Come on.
the year is basically done. It's basically done. By the time we'll be on a breakfast with the brand a couple months from now, we'll be talking about, oh, it's November, and it'll be like the whole year just went by. But when it comes to the clarity piece, I like that piece for me has been a more critical part, especially this month. This month has been a very clarity driven month for me personally. And I would encourage everybody to just sit down, ask themselves, the tough questions that need to be asked. And I'll give you this, I'll give them this as well, Sean. Perspective. To me, clarity brings perspective. Perspective, the power of perspective cannot be understated. Being able to put things in perspective is so powerful. So powerful. It's almost difficult to describe because everybody has a perspective, and your perspective is what you use to take action or determine the direction that you're gonna choose to go eventually. So the power of perspective, guys, just meditate on that a little bit.
Very good, very good. I want to add a little bit to what you just said before we go to the first break and then come back with our phenomenal guest, right? When it comes to perspective, perspective is the lens through which you see the world. It's the filter. So whereas one person sees obstacles and complications, another person sees opportunities. Think about that. Where you see frustration, where you see obstacles, where you see no path, no way, no light at the end of the tunnel, another person is energized, excited, and raring to go. The same thing that makes some people run from makes other people run to. So think about that and think about yourself and your business approach and your mindset, or as Junior said, perspective. Now, when you hear Junior say it's almost the end of the year already, how does that make you feel? Do you feel empty because you failed? Or do you feel excited because you got just a hair of time? And that's all you need to be absolutely phenomenal and absolutely successful. All right. So just meditate on that. What does that make you feel like if this was the end of the year right now? Just think about it. Today is the 20th. What if it was December 20th? What would that mean for you and your business? What would you have done with 2023? And what would you do with the last 11 days? of the year.
What you're looking at right now is the new face of leadership. I chose to go the route of SOE, standards of excellence. So I help people put zeros behind their numbers. I help people move up in or out of their organization and get paid their annual income monthly, their monthly income weekly, and their weekly income daily. I promise you, if you follow me at all, you're gonna wanna use something to write with. CSA first, CSA. Clarify, simplify, and amplify. Clarify, simplify, and amplify. It starts with the decision. Who do you wanna be and what do you wanna do? Who do you wanna be? You have to define that. If you don't know, then it's vague and it'll never be clear. The problem that we have is clarity. We walk into an organization happy to be there, happy that they accepted us, but we don't have a clear goal. That's why people stay in the same organization year after year after year, go to the same vacation spots with the same people and talk the same amount of nonsense around the same water cooler. So when I go into an organization and someone says they've been here for 20 years and they're still around $60, $70, $80,000, I'm like, whew, it's chilly. It's a little bit cold when I know that all it takes for you to raise your prices, whether it's inside or outside of an organization, is self-belief and dedication. Brand you and not what you do. So when I meet people, I ask people, who tell me a little bit about yourself, and they immediately tell me what they do. That's not who you are. Branding is who you are. Marketing is how people find out about you. So when you say, I'm a photographer, you just lumped yourself in with a million other photographers. What's special about you? Why should I work with you? I don't need a hand with a camera. I need a man with a story, a woman with a goal, a vision, someone with an idea of where they want to, what they want to be and who they want to impact in their lives. That's what moves me. We know where we belong, whether we're in that seat or not. We heard the word legacy and we were pulled to come. I flew in last minute. Let's go. Leadership, legacy, love. Whew, I gotta be there. So what happens in marketing is when you say, I am you put yourself in what we call a red sea. You're now fighting against a million competitors with a million different things. Clarify, who are you? What do you stand for? And then simplify it, don't make it 10 things. Bruce Lee said, I do not fear the man who has thrown 10,000 kicks. He says, I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. You can have the most mouth-watering steak that the world has ever seen, but if you try to position it or place it in a vegan neighborhood, you make no money. Who are you trying to market to? Sometimes we don't support each other. Sometimes you got to go outside of your community, outside of your neighborhood, outside of your phone book to find someone who will support you. So if your business is hurting, think about the place that you're trying to move, whatever it is that you're moving, and the people that you're trying to sell to. You want to become the OVO. The OVO is the only viable option in your vertical. The only viable option in your vertical. We're not here for competition. We're here for domination. We're here for domination. Period. And if you feel differently, you're probably in the wrong room. Is anybody ready for the fifth one? Are you ready for the fifth one? Might want to capture this. Might want to capture this. For God's sakes, man, your prices. Your prices. We should stand out because of price. Some people look for the lowest price. You're making a big mistake because you're defining yourself. Your success comes from mindset and perception. If you're competing over the lowest price, there's a problem. Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands. Train people. I'm going to leave you with this. We train people how to treat us when we meet us based on how we treat ourselves. Brand you and not what you do. Thank you.
Come on. Come on, guys. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Let's go. Let's go. Listen, Brand you, not what you do. How has your prices risen? How has your confidence risen? How has your position switched in the marketplace in which you serve? We're back with the phenomenal Bobby Jackson. Bobby, how you feeling this morning, brother?
Absolutely phenomenal. Always a pleasure to be on with Breakfast with the Brand. So I'm absolutely phenomenal.
Good, good, good. So Junior said something before we went to the break about it being the end of the year. He said it's the end of the year. I feel like it's the end of the year right now. So just to give people a mindset perspective, what that looks like from someone who is a high performer, just take a small inventory. Walk people through a small inventory. If this was the end of the year, what would have changed for you in 2023?
If
Yeah,
this was end of the year, oh my goodness, I can say that we increased prices once again by almost 400%.
come
Uh,
on.
counting. So that was interesting. I would be able to say that the team and I successfully made it through the storming stage. So we got to that stage where we were team building and building things out. I would also say we're behind on our dreams. We're behind on our dreams, but not in a bad way in the sense of we're not going to get there, but it's you set markers and plans and you say, okay, we plan to be here at this time with this velocity and all this other good stuff. And we're able to objectively look at the whiteboard and say, hey guys, we didn't hit that. Why? So if it was the end of the year, oh, we'd all be sitting kumbaya talking about hit those numbers, but we'd also be able to appreciate what we did accomplish. So that
Very good. Very good. So one thing that I always say is set an impossible bar. Set an impossible bar. So if you hit the goal wasn't big enough. Right? So that's for everybody watching, right? Pay attention, guys. I can't help it. I have to coach, I have to consult, right? So we coach and consult right here. What you're getting a peek into is what it looks like inside of the leadership leverage, a piece of it, a small sliver of it, right? So what I'm gonna tell Bobby, I'm telling everybody else too. Add a zero to the goal so that the goal becomes unattainable, but it's so huge that it causes you to recreate yourself every single day because you have to think that number that you have, and everybody out here, where I'm coaching you right now, everybody watching this, the goal that you have requires a specific person to accomplish it. When you entertained the goal, it was you who set the goal with your perspective, as Junior spoke to, your perspective, your lens. Now, I'm going to add my lens to yours and my experience and expertise and education to yours and tell you to add a zero to it, which means multiply it by 10. And then who would you have to be to accomplish that? No matter the number, no matter where you're currently sitting, you cannot look at that number and be the same person. And that's the point of transformation. That's the point of coaching. That's the point of vision. That's the point of goal setting, tracking, and attaining.
Yeah, Sean, that's there was a lot in what you just said. Being or what do you need to become the person that you need to be to achieve the goal? So we often talk about leverage. Leverage, if you really have to look at leverage, it's how do you get a multiple of your output for a small amount of input. So how do you get more with less? Or basically, what is the input? So guys, what is the input that you need to put in so you can get the output that you're looking for? And who does that output require you to become so that you could achieve it? So if you want to achieve, I don't know, 5K a month, 10K a month, who do you need to become in order to achieve that? And what kind of input do you need to become? So I'll give you an example. Let's say I want to do $5 million a year. Okay. Well, if you know your numbers, you know that requires X number of sales. If you know that you cannot do X number of sales on your own, who do you need to become? You need to become a sales leader that could rally a sales team to achieve or to have them to help you achieve the goal of $5 million. So I just wanted to slip that in because that can often go over people's head, and that is so powerful. In fact, that's everything. Like guys, if you master what Sean just spoke about, then you left here with a golden nugget. That's really what it is. It's input, output. People don't think of their goals like that. Like, what do you need to put in to get the output? And in the interim, like, who do you need to become to be able to put in the input to get the output?
Very good. One thing that you have to do is you have to actually set a number. You have to actually set a number. If you don't set a number, then you're already there. And most people, when you said that, most people, when they entertain, if it was the end of the year, they just be like, okay, well, whatever. Let's go into the next one, right? Let's continue to do the same thing and continue to get the same results. And their whole strategy is based on hope, doing different stuff, spaghetti flinging and hoping that something sticks. Somehow it just never does, right? So the first thing you need to do is you need to set a number. And what I'm going to encourage you to do is put a zero behind it. So Junior said, if you want to make 500, if you want to make 5K, 10K a year, or 5K, 10K a month, I'm going to say, that's not a huge goal. Let's put a zero behind that. Because you have to be a better person. You have to be a smarter person. You have to be a more innovative, disruptive, challenging, confident, professional person. You have to be a different kind of leader than at the 5K, 10K level to exist at the 50K, 100K level.
Sean, can I say something to what you
Go
just
ahead.
So, and this is sort of what I meant when I was talking about perspective. So let's say you want to become a millionaire. What is a millionaire's perspective? If you want to be a billionaire, what is a billionaire's, when looking at the problem, when looking at the goal? So let's say you want to achieve 50,000 a month. What is the $50,000 a month earner's perspective? And I think if people could really understand that, if you could acquire somebody's, like listening to Sean right now, guys, if you could acquire Sean's perspective, you could understand the way that he thinks. You see what I'm saying? And if you understand the way that Sean thinks, like his train of thought, then you could perhaps achieve some of the stuff that Sean has achieved as well. So that talks about the power of being in a community of people that force you to stretch your mind and stretch your perspective. But I think just acquiring different perspectives is super powerful. Like I was looking at a video with Elon Musk the other day, and I was asking myself, what is Musk's perspective on money? What is his perspective on this? What is his perspective on that? And then when you do that and you put things in perspective, it's like, wow, like it changes your whole mindset.
Let me tell you something he did recently, just to put that into perspective. And then when we come back from the break, I'm going to let Bobby speak about this, right? But think about what Elon Musk just did. He just sold billions. They said nobody lost as much money as he did in one day. Think about this. Most people would give their right arm to have $100 million because it would take care of their family for the rest of what they think would be a natural life and legacy, right? Not true. However, most people would give their right arm for $100 million. Elon Musk separated from himself, gave away, lost, but that's the wrong perspective. The right perspective is that he invested. He invested more than $2 billion to retain ownership of something that was his. He gave away, lost. The people like to laugh and say, oh, he lost it. But they don't understand the perspective. He made a choice to invest multiple billions of dollars to retain ownership of an idea.
It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. I said Sean Ra'is. I'm proud. I said Sean Ra'is. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. I don't talk theory, I don't talk hyperbole, I don't talk opinion. Nothing I talk is anything but evidence-based.
During the G-Circle retreat in Atlanta, I had the pleasure and the honor of listening to Mr. Sean Ra'is. He will not only impact your organization, but he will elevate your team to another level.
When you change you, when you put you into the equation, the whole system is different. I guarantee you, you got the right thing. You are the right person. If you can present yourself in the best way possible, there's no negotiation.
His energy is infectious, and I have so many takeaways from the presentation that I can't wait to get started and implement them today to see the result.
Perspective. Well, let's talk about perspective for a moment. Bobby, how has your perspective shifted in the past 2 to 3 years after getting the branding and the coaching and the consulting and the speaking and the business acumen, going from, military service to business ownership and leadership, and then having staff? What does that look like? What does that progression look like? Take us on a perspective ladder, if you don't mind.
Wow. When you say it all in one sentence, it's like, man, you did all of that?
Exactly.
You've done all of that? So perspective and how it has changed. I would say risk was the biggest thing that I learned to perceive differently. I've always been risk tolerant. If I see it, I go for it. I'm not a very risk adverse type of person, but my perspective shifted when I had more responsibility. Like my home, if I take a risk, then it's like they're dependent on me. So that was huge. My team, if I take a risk, if we don't eat, they're dependent on me. And my wife, if I'm not there, she's depending on me. So I'm here in the business, but let's say I'm not present. So when I first started out in business, before the staff, before the acumen, before the revenues coming in, it was I was also single, so I got married, we had kids, we had a lot of things happen in 2 to 3 years. So I think, man, the perspective really, I think for me, simple as it may sound, was around risk. Like, no risk, no reward, no guts, no glory. I had to find a way to invest all of myself and not give less, give more. So many times I was sitting on the other side of the computer screen and you were discussing with me, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, like what was required of me for the next level. And it was always attractive at one point to say, I'm all right here. I'm cool right here. I'm further than I was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And my perspective, though, it shifted over time. And what it shifted to was, it's rarely ever wise to forego an opportunity to grow. That's what I think my perspective really shifted into. Like, my family tripping, kids tripping, okay, you've got an opportunity to grow. Okay, business ain't doing like the numbers it needs to be doing, you got an opportunity to grow. All right, coach says you're ready for the next investment. He believes you can do it. That's an opportunity to grow. So I think that was the shift. You got to risk more to be more, to have more, to live more. And that's what I learned over these past 3 years, is how to take it on the chin.
Wow. That's a mouthful. I'm surprised that we haven't, we weren't right next to the break. So let me put that into perspective for everybody watching this, right? You have to release the limb that you're holding on to in order to attain the next one. And there's this split second. There's this split second in the release of one and in the grasping of another that you're not holding on to anything. And that's the uncertainty that business owners, fathers, mothers, entrepreneurs have. That small glimmer of a moment of uncertainty is what people don't risk. But because they don't risk it, they remain the same. And this is we live in a condition right now called permanent uncertainty. We live in a situation right now where there's permanent uncertainty. Ever since 3 years ago, there has been permanent uncertainty. There has been disruption after disruption after disruption after disruption. We have gone from one calamity to another condition, to another situation, to another situation. I saw something earlier where there's a whole nother situation forecasted for 2025, not even 2024, but there's something forecasted of negative probability in 2025. And here we are in 2023. If we learned nothing, if COVID taught us nothing, if 2020 taught us nothing, it should have taught us that comfortability is not certain. People thought they were certain. They thought they were comfortable, but then they got sent home. They got slapped on the wrist. The worldview got shifted permanently. And what happens when the shift is changed? People go back to the same thing. And that's the problem. They get stuck in their ways. And as soon as the fire leaves, as soon as the sirens go outside of ear's distance, people go back to business as usual. But business as usual will never be the same. It will never be the same. So swinging back on the vine that you're holding on to right now, instead of taking the next one, is not the safe bet. It's not the safe bet, because yesterday's situation is not today's situation. And it'll never be tomorrow's situation. Tomorrow demands a new you.
So what I would say is, the people who haven't registered the shift, they went back to the same perspective. It comes back to the same thing. They went back to the same perspective. So guys, I would challenge you to broaden your perspective, shift with the time, shift with the world, and just really look at what's going on. And one could argue, well, maybe they didn't have the right perspective to begin with. I'll give you a concept, right, before we go to the break. So in sales, there's a concept called commission. Okay. So if you've ever done sales, you know, if you do something, you get a percentage of whatever you sell. But some school of thoughts, they see commission as not just money. Commission could be maybe you making somebody smile, the good feeling that you feel when you a client has success could be a form of commission. Seeing your people or your community grow is a form of commission. But then let's get back to the revenue and the money part. People who are employed or who think they have, I guess, security from employment, they
Mhm.
don't understand that they're working for a commission. So if the company is making $1 million a year, you're getting paid X amount per month. That's a percentage of whatever the company is making. That's a commission. If the company cannot make that money, it means they cannot pay you, which means, guess what? You don't get your commission. That's a different perspective on employment. So the question becomes, do you embrace, you know, self-reliance? Do you embrace entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial mindset, and you start to take charge of your commission, or do you wait for your commission to be determined and to be given to you by a company who's offering you no security? That's a
Oh,
different perspective on commission.
whew, that's rough. That's rough. That reminds me, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of going to a restaurant and seeing the doors closed and shuttered. Right. I remember it maybe 7, maybe 10 years ago now. I went to a restaurant that I enjoyed and it was shuttered, it was closed. And we had just been there maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks prior. You know, we had just been there, enjoyed a phenomenal meal. So I I talked to some people to find out what happened with such and such, the restaurant chain, that specific one. What happened? What took place? Why did they close? And they said, "Oh, Sean, you won't believe it. Not only did they close, but they didn't tell anybody that they were closing." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they said the people who worked there came to work on a specific day and found the doors locked like I did when I came there to eat. So here you are on a job. Here you are with bills. Here you are, like Bobby said, with a family, with responsibilities, with a wife, with a spouse, with children, and you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and you're earning a living wage. And you show up to your earning wage one day, and it's no longer there. It's been shuttered. They said they were standing around, people were crying, they didn't know what to do. They had no pipeline. They weren't looking for another job actively, and they had to figure it out. Now, most people don't have $400 in their savings. How do you figure it out like that? How do you figure it out like that? So people think we do entrepreneurship. What we actually do is freedom. People think we do entrepreneurship. What we actually do is freedom. What we actually do is give people the freedom of opinion. Most people can't afford their opinion. Their selections are determined by their salary. When you ask a person, where do you want to go for vacation? Immediately they think limitation of compensation limitation. Well, I've only got about X, so I can only go to X. That's as far as my compensation takes me. What we do in the leadership leverage is we unattach that. We completely detach from what you think is possible, because when you come into entrepreneurship, that's the only certainty, guys. Realistically, with what Junior just said about the uncertain situation of your commission working for someone else, that's not certain. 401ks are not certain. Not anymore. The S&P standard and that's completely, the index, that's completely different. We're in a different world right now. The only certainty that you have is in your skill set and the ability to produce value to those who need it. That's it. That's what you're certain of. You wake up one morning certain of yourself, confident of yourself, knowing that you have the ability to create revenue or generate revenue. It doesn't make a difference if you drop me in Alaska. I can wake up in Alaska. I have a multi-million-dollar mindset. I'm fine with that. If I wake up in Alaska, I'm good because somebody's going to need consulting. Someone's going to need their mindset stretched. That's what I specialize in. Visioneering, opening opportunities, unlocking the vault. And everyone needs that. What are you a specialist in? What do you do that everybody needs? And if you don't have that, you better tap in. You better tap in and strap in before things get real rocky for you. Right? So I want you to think about it because we're concerned. We're concerned. I've been concerned. 10 years ago, I was concerned. And that's why when something happened 3 years ago, I was prepared. I was prepared because I was concerned. What are you concerned about now that you need to become prepared for? So when the situation arises, you're ready for business.
What you're looking at right now is the new face of leadership. I chose to go the route of SOE, standards of excellence. So I help people put zeros behind their numbers.
So for me, it was pretty much learning a little bit more about how to communicate, how I can build my personal branding and my personal development. With me, I do a lot of nonprofit work. I also work at Salesforce. So just trying to find better ways that I can network, that I can make sure when I walk into a room that my presence is felt. I felt as if he had a lot of takeaways, especially how he dissected the chessboard and like the king, the queen, the rook, the knight. So I really like that personally because I love chess too. Life is chess, the world is chess, it's not checkers. So that's what I really like about that.
I said Sean Ra'is. I'm proud. Sean Ra'is. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a zero behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are, so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle.
Let me just touch on something for a second. Now I know everybody here should keep up with current events, right? That's leadership. Leadership is knowing what's going on. Business Insider, Economics Weekly, like you have to know what's going on. This country has gone $16 trillion in debt. 16 trillion. The foundation is sinking. The foundation is sinking, right? Your job, your economy, your whole system, everything you base your life on is in debt. It's sinking. Me and Bobby was having a conversation about this, about different businesses and how business school teaches you to leverage debt. And I said, well, Bobby, of course, because everybody wants to make the interest, right? So you got to understand the business that's in debt is in debt to a business that's in debt to a business that's in debt to a business that's in debt to a government, and the government is financially in debt to another country. So when one person is calling for their collection, when the business is unable, you think you get a call because you were late on a payment. But you got to understand this. When you get a call because you were late on a payment, it's because the business that's calling you was called because they were late on a payment. And the people that were calling them, they noticed it the moment that it happens because they were getting a call before they called you or before they called the business that called you because they were late on a payment. This is a pressurized system. It's a multi-pressurized system where there's a foot on your neck, but the foot that's on your neck has a foot on its neck. And there's a foot on the neck that's connected to the foot on the neck that's connected to the foot that's on your neck. So we live in a system where every business is in debt to the business above it. There's levels. So to become economically viable and economically sufficient is to become economically independent and to position yourself as a business entity as opposed to someone whose only strategy is hope. No matter what your education level is, if you're in a service economy, when I say service economy, means you show up somewhere and you get paid for it. But the people who pay you are in debt. And the people who pay them are in debt. And the people who continue to print money are in debt. So the only way to remove yourself from that situation is to become a business entity, create the high level skills so that you can be self-sufficient and independent of a system that is not working. Bobby, speak to that for a moment, because we was having the conversation. I was explaining why business schools teach debt, because they're in debt, and the people they're in debt to are in debt, and they're in debt to the people that are in debt, and it's a debt ladder.
Whew. Oh my gosh, is all I can say, because there's so much here to unpack, and I'm going to do my best to keep it very concise, very layman terms, but what we're experiencing right now is one of the scariest, dare I say, times in economic history. And it's scary because just like Sean said earlier, the vines that we have, you're holding on to one vine and you're coming into the next vine. So without getting into too much detail, many thinkers believe that a centralized monetary system is fundamentally flawed. So what this means is that right now we have fiat currency, and the currency is legal tender based off of the government that is endorsing it. Now you could have what is decentralized, which is blockchain. So blockchain finds its value in the code, or the nodes rather, that are validating it on the blockchain itself, the distributed ledger. So again, not going too deep, we've got this transition. So you've got the money that's fiat currency, and then you've got decentralized resources trying to replace it. So why does this get so scary, and why do entrepreneurs need to stand up right now? This is so scary because of money multipliers, because of monetary policy and fiscal policy, which I'll talk a little bit about, not too much, and about the economy at large. So I hope that everybody gets some education off of this one. So when you think about monetary policy has to do with how the money circulates in the economy and the interest rates in which it circulates at. When we're talking about debt, what me and Sean was talking about, that's where the money multiplier comes in. So money multiplier means this. If I borrow money and then I flip that money and there's interest on that money, the money borrowed grows due to the interest. And if you flip the money for a profit, it grows again. So that's where the money multiplier comes in. So that is good. But the negative side to that is if you don't flip the money and you get hit with the interest. So then the multiplier works both ways. And what's very interesting right now is entrepreneurs have what I believe is one of the hidden gems, and that is the ability to do cash basis accounting. And again, I'm not trying to go too deep, guys. It's a lot here. But cash basis accounting simply means that you can fund your business or account for transactions when the cash is in your hands. Accrual basis accounting means that you are accounting for transactions before you have the cash, and you're accounting for liabilities as soon as they're incurred. So what this means for you, if you're an entrepreneur and you're uncertain about your job, you're uncertain about money, because the thing about money, guys, I really need y'all to understand this. Like, money loses its value based on its perceived value. That's very important to understand. So there was, oh man, I hope I've got time for this. Very quick. I believe it was German. They called them broke billionaires. So what happened was in Germany, there was a crisis of inflation that was so bad that you had billions of dollars in your bank account, but the dollar was so devalued, or the franc, whatever they were using, was so devalued they couldn't buy toilet paper, but they were billionaires with money. So in this time, if you cannot convert your skills, your education, your intellectual property into a financial resource or tool that can be leveraged in the economy to supply your family's needs, I don't know what to tell you. As an economist, I don't know what to tell you.
As an economist, he doesn't know what to tell you. As an organizational development and change specialist, as an industrial and organizational psychologist, as an entrepreneur, multi-million, I don't know what to tell you either. This is not a negotiable at this point. It is absolutely imperative, and I'm going to circle back to what Junior said in the very beginning. You're a salesperson anyway.
Yep.
You're only making commission anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Showing up, you're performing the duty as an independent contractor anyway. And if you think not, look at what happened during 2020. No matter how long you had been in the business, no matter what the 401k said, no matter what the law or the situation was, you were subsidized, sent home, no explanation. We hope it works out. That was the government. We hope it works out. Let's see. Let's play it by ear. Some people didn't get paid for months. That's where the whole surplus came from, because people didn't get paid for months. I can remember being from New York. I can remember when the bus operators went on strike and Bloomberg threatened prison if you don't get to work.
Oh.
Yes. I remember they were talking about the financial. Remember the walkout in the Fed? They walked out. They were threatening to stay out of work, and the president was like, "That's not going to work. That's not going to work." The only way you exist outside of that system is creating a system of your own, and that's what Bobby was talking about. And that's IP, intellectual property. It's the new economy, and if you don't know about it,
Sean. Can I offer some more perspective on that? So let's talk about it. So Bobby made a really good point, and so what Bobby spoke about is currency. So when I did a little bit of economics, I know money is a store of value. Currency is not a store of value, right? Right, Bobby? Currency doesn't store. Currency is like stock market.
Right.
Fear and greed. The stock market is fear and greed. There's either fear in the market. There's fear in the market. It goes down. If there's greed, it goes up, right? But so guys, right now, if you have quote unquote money, you have currency. I remember Bobby was talking about present value and future value. Like this is what I'm doing right now. Okay. I'm not a financial advisor, just to put that out there, but this is what I'm doing. So I'm taking my currency and I'm investing it into skills that could provide me with future value for the new economy. So the new economy is okay. We know we're moving into artificial intelligence. We know we're going into crypto. So guys, I would look at, like, and Ray Dalio said this, right? In every catastrophe, there's always an upside somewhere. So where you have a lot of people losing money, there's always a lot of people gaining money. And I would ask myself, where is the money going? It's moving into AI, it's moving into cryptocurrencies, moving into more of a creative, visionary space. So how can you take your currency or what you have in your pocket right now and invest it into programs, invest it into mentors, et cetera, that could yield a future value in the new economy? That's what I would do, and that's what I would recommend. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor, but that's what I'm doing right now. Just letting you know. So I'm looking at, okay, Chat GPT is out. How can I use Chat GPT? What can I do with it? How can I master the capabilities? How can I learn about crypto? How can I learn about augmented reality, virtual reality, all of these things? I'm reading about these things constantly, and where are the gaps? Because that's where the money's going. So you have to put yourself between, you put yourself between the money. So
Where
take your currency, exactly.
it's going.
But Sean, I also want to say that it's moving to more of a creative and a skills-based economy, marketing, sales, branding, etc., etc. If you're trying to produce a product has overhead. But if you're working with a skill, you could start a business with a skill with little to no money at all. So just to put that in more perspective right there.
I love it. I love it. So what you're talking about right now is what I'm going to call a VPB or a VBE. It's a value-based economy. It's a value-based economy. If you're not, listen, it's a value-based economy now. The only thing is that you're producing value for someone else, who's producing value for someone else, who's producing value for someone else, who's producing value for someone else. The question is, where are you at on the value totem pole? On the value ladder, where do you exist? Are you at the bottom of what we call the food chain, or are you at the top creating the value, or are you at the bottom distributing the value? Either way, you're in a value-based economy. Listen, guys, if you mow lawns, that's bringing value. The only question is, do you own the business, or are you the actual person pushing the lawnmower? This is the question that you have to ask yourself. Are you a profit center? Are you creating revenue? Do you understand what it means? Or if you don't, listen, this is what happens, right? What happens is there's people coming and going downtown New York all the time. They're coming and going into the stock market. They're walking, they're moving fast, thinking, they're computing, they're moving, they've got secretaries and assistants on the side of them. And they're making big decisions that affect the world. And then there's people outside that don't have a clue what's going on. At 10 o'clock in the morning, they're milling about. There's other people that are confused. So some people have jobs in offices that are attending to the phones for someone else. And then there's some people that don't have the money. They're standing outside of Starbucks like, would you buy me a cup of coffee? There's some people who are inside of Starbucks dropping their resume. Some people who are outside just going to the park, another day at the, like, completely traumatized. Economic trauma. They are traumatized because they do not understand the world in which they live. When we talk about branding you, it's about building a you-based economy. A U or a YBE, a you-based economy, so that the decisions that take place in your life, you can actually make, or at least have a say in. Most times when you're existing as an employee, you don't have that creative ability. You don't have the ability to truly afford your own opinion. I can remember when people started coming back from work, and we'll end on this. I remember when people started coming back from work and they opened the world back up. They changed the rules. They code switched. Right, Bobby? They code switched. And they said, you know what? You've been home. It's been what they call it. It was remote, and then it was hybrid. Now you must come back to work or you lose your job. What's the next decision going to be? What's the next decision going to be? And do you know it, and are you prepared for it? If you haven't signed up for that fireside chat by now, don't waste time. Don't waste. And if you haven't shared this out by now, when we end this, go to my call and share this out, because this is a value-based economy and you need to become a you-based economy to create value for the people who see the value in what you do, and they can subscribe to you and your business and your brand, and you get to choose how you exist, where you exist, what value you provide, and for who. That's called freedom. If you don't have that, then you get told what to do by someone else who's told what to do by someone else who's told what to do, and none of you know what's going to happen tomorrow. That's why the depression is up. That's why the anxiety is up. That's why the health level is down. That's why hypertension and heart disease is up, because people don't know what's going to happen tomorrow realistically, except for the people who are independent, confident, and leaders. That's what we teach. That's what we do. That's who we prepare. And come to the fireside chat and find out how. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been very educational. I know it's not so motivational, because what happens when motivation wears off? I hope you're prepared for that. And if not, come through, because we are, and we'll help you get there too. Let's grow.